Okay, think it's still morning, so good morning. Ed Alvarez, Chief of Police for BART. So the purpose of today's presentation is to discuss my vision for safety and security on the BART system and to lay out my plan on how I will achieve that vision. So my vision is to regain the public's trust by making BART welcoming and safe for all our riders and employees. As BART's new police chief, this is my top priority. We need to listen to our riders and own their concerns. As chief, I want BART to be the safest transit system in the country. I recognize that we have a lot of work to get there, but building the relationships with our employees, our riders, and our communities, we will get there together. So here's the perspectives on BART safety from some of the tweets that some of our riders have put out. So our riders are telling us that they're frustrated, that they don't feel safe in our system. Many say they don't see my officers on trains or in stations, but we need to change that perception. It's up to me as a new police chief to take action and to listen to the comments made to me as I move through the system as well. So just to highlight some of the comments that were made to the general manager as well as some of the tweets that have been put out. The things get sketchy. They don't always feel safe. Safety is all over the map. I feel safe during crowded commute times, but evenings are less safe. But we did get a positive one at the time that he appreciated the two officers on their commute train when they were riding to Oakland that morning. So how do I get there? How do I achieve my mission, my vision? So as I said in my introductory news conference, I have a vision for improving public safety at BART. How do we get there, and how do we complete the vision? We increase presence on trains and stations. We implement new deployment strategies, get a fully staffed police department, emphasize community policing, and ensure transparency and accountability. We're currently hiring more officers and ensuring that they have the tools and training that they need to be successful. I'm going to increase our presence while at the same time emphasizing community policing. I want all of our riders to feel safe when they see a BART officer board their train and walk their stations. So we've already begun to increase our presence on trains, and we will continue to do so, not only in the trains, but on the stations as well. This is an essential step to build the visibility of the BART Police Department. So as you know, the University of North Texas recommended the creation of a patrol team dedicated to trains over the next few years. I have accelerated its implementation on January 13th of this year by putting out a 12-officer train team. The latest budget you approved provided us with 19 additional police positions to help make this happen. But to get where we need to go, I will be requesting 19 more officer positions in the FY 2021 budget to continue to implement this deployment and to increase our presence in the system and making it safer for our riders. So in this slide, there's some of the feedback that we've received via Twitter from some of our riders after we deployed our officers on the trains. So our public has already taken notice of the increased train patrols. This higher visibility not only reassures our riders about their personal safety, but also acts as a deterrent against crime. I'm encouraged by our preliminary crime numbers for January. So last month, BART's overall crime rate decreased 18% system-wide compared to January of 2019. So I'll say that one more time. Last month, BART's overall crime rate decreased 18% system-wide compared to January of 2019. That's a big factor, and the factor for this was a decline in the theft of electronic devices. In January of 2019, there were 74 such thefts. Last month, that number fell to 46. It's too soon to say that this decline represents a new long-term trend, but it's nonetheless a good cause for optimism. It also comes during the same month when I launched our new train patrol and had a fixed post at Balboa Park. So another one of the strategies that I look to implement is that I will be introducing this year is a fixed post coverage. So a fixed post coverage means assigning an officer to a specific station based on calls for service and crime trends. This is going to be a fundamental change on how we currently patrol our stations. Having an officer assigned to a specific station will allow the officer to build ties with our frequent riders, employees, and other station visitors. This is the essence of community policing, which will build trust and accountability. Our officers will also feel a sense of ownership for their station and continue to build relationships with our frontline employees as well as our riders. We've also hired a brand new crime analyst who will help me identify what stations should be the first in line for this new deployment effort. So another branch of our presence is our fare inspectors. So in addition to fare enforcement, our fare inspectors provide additional eyes and ears in our system. The budget you approved in June allowed us to hire more inspectors to expand that program to nights and weekends. When the program was first launched in 2018, we had 12 inspectors, but that number has now increased to 20. Our fare inspections are on a non-discretionary, are conducted in a fair and impartial manner throughout our system. So our plan over the 5 years that was given to us by the University of North Texas staffing study shows how we're going to get to our ultimate number of 95 police officers, if so budgeted. So our progress is being made, but we have a lot of work ahead to achieve a fully staffed BART Police Department. You provided 19 more officers positions in the last budget. That's the first important step on this road to increase our current staffing. The GM and I will be requesting 19 more positions for board approval in the next budget, and we'll be making similar requests until all 95 positions are approved and funded. So 2019 was a record year for hiring for us. We hired more officers in that year than we did in 2017 and 2018 combined. The contract that we negotiated with the BPOA not only makes us more competitive with other law enforcement agencies in our region, but it also helped us to streamline our hiring process by allowing us to contract with background companies to help with our caseloads. As a result, we currently have 24 officers in our field training program, 9 in the police academies, and 3 that are currently waiting for their academy to start. We will continue our aggressive recruiting campaign until we have no more vacancies. Given our progress, I believe we can fill all the current officer openings by the end of this year. So a critical part of regaining the trust of our riders is to emphasize community policing. Assigning officers to one station will help my team to build relationships with our riders and our employees. A new initiative that I've launched is I'm having all my lieutenants go out on a weekly basis and meet with frontline employees and riders in their zones to build relationships and to listen to their concerns. So as we know, the Bay Area is facing a crisis when it comes to homelessness and drug use. Oh, sorry, skipped a page. My apologies. So on Monday, we began the long-awaited ambassador program with a kickoff media event here at Lake Merritt. The ambassadors are unarmed, non-sworn personnel who I believe will play a critical role in both boosting safety and presence in the BART system. We will have ambassadors in the system 7 days a week, including nights and weekends. They will be riding trains throughout the system, concentrating at the Transbay crossing during the off-peak hours, and alternate routes during the peak hours to maximize their presence. All ambassadors have been trained in de-escalation techniques and crisis intervention. This is in addition to the training that they received when they first became community service officers. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ambassador Latifah Davis, who will give you a brief recap on her first 3 days as an ambassador and answer any questions you might have about the program.
Hello, I'm Latifah Davis, and I am an ambassador here for BART. So, on our patrols, first couple of days, we basically patrol the trains. During high commute time, we can't really patrol the trains. There's a lot of people on the trains, but just having our presence there, like in the train car. People appreciate that. And we get out, patrol the platform. People are happy to see us there on the platform. They come up to us, they say thank you, they ask us questions. We direct them in whatever way possible. We're getting some really good feedback from a lot of people on the trains, like later in the evening time when we're able to actually walk through and patrol the trains. And they're just like, thank you, and they're really hopeful that this program works out.
Can we open up for questions for Latifah? Ms. Davis? Does anybody have questions for Ms. Davis before we turn it back over to the chief? Director Dufty,
Great to see you.
I would like to go.
Great to see you again. Oh, you're going to start?
No, you go.
Okay,
You go.
thank you. It's great to see you again, and
Thank you.
and you did a fantastic job at the announcement, and it's not an easy thing to do to face a dozen TV cameras. And I realize it's only day 3, but I think it's really important for us as directors to hear today, and as you and your colleagues continue in this position, some of your interactions with individuals who may be homeless, or individuals who have mental illness or untreated mental illness or drug addiction. And I just wondered if at the beginning you've talked to any individuals in these circumstances, and if you felt like you learned some things, or I know there were a lot of questions at the press conference about de-escalation and how would you handle difficult situations. So I think that we would welcome the opportunity to kind of hear any anecdotal experience or incidents or interactions that you had, because I think it would help us from the policy level to pursue the right things that we need to change that situation.
Thank you. From my experience,
Davis, we really want to hear you. So if you could speak as loud as you can, not scream, but as loud as you can in the microphone.
Okay.
Your words
From
are so
my
important to us.
experience working on the BART trains and patrolling the BART trains and the platforms, typically we have homeless people riding the trains, and the reason why they're riding the trains is so they can get some sleep, so they can get rest. Through all the train cars that we patrolled last night and all the homeless people that I seen just speaking on last night, every single last one of them were sleeping that were on the train. So we make contact with people sometimes, depending on the situation. Sometimes we might do a well check because we're concerned to make sure that they're okay and that they're healthy. We give them information about resources in the area if they need to go to a shelter, somewhere to sleep for the night. No one talks to us or gets really upset, from last night. No one did. Everybody was okay with us, contacting them, the ones that we did need to contact. And on the platform, on all the platforms, we patrol from 12th Street to Powell Street. And we got off at every single platform on that route, and we only seen 2 homeless people. One at 12th Street was a couple, and we spoke to them briefly, and they said they were just sitting down to get some rest, and they were going to get up and get on about their way. And then when we got to Embarcadero, we made contact with another gentleman that was homeless, and he grabbed his things, and we didn't even ask him to grab his things. We just talked to him and asked him, was he okay? He said that he was, and he was making his way out the station as he did.
So I'll be quick, and then I will go to Director Lee and any other director who wants to ask a question. I think we're honored that you were able to take time out of your shift to come in and speak to us today, Ms. Davis, because this work is hard. For much of my career, I did outreach on the streets with folks who are, again, having the worst times of their lives. My question is, in your referral processes, do you feel like the ambassadors have enough information to refer folks? So that's one. Adequate referrals to shelters or to spaces where folks can get restful sleep? And if not, what would you encourage us to be thinking about how to support you all? And then 2, there was a question at the press conference from one of the members of a press about things you could be most worried about. What happens if you do, as an unarmed person with your partner, encounter something that was quite scary? If you could just tell us what have you been trained to do in those situations? So the first one is about the resources you have. Are they enough? And what could we do to be more supportive? And the second, about your training.
So to answer your first question about the resources, we have support here. We have Armando Sandoval, and he gives us a lot of information. And if it's anything that we're unaware of, we have a list of resources throughout different counties, because obviously BART runs through several counties. We have a list of places that can be contacted and phone numbers. And if it's something outside of that, we can contact Armando so he can give us further resources.
Thank you. And then scary situations, I'm not sure if you've encountered any yet, but what happens when you do? And you feel
Okay, so we haven't, as ambassadors, we haven't encountered any scary situations a lot on BART. Just one incident that happened last night. There was a gentleman on BART, and we were patrolling, and we weren't scared, but he had a really big dog with him. I mean, huge. I couldn't even tell you what type of dog it was. And we made contact with them because we smelled smoke in the area, but we didn't see anyone smoking. It was in the area. And sometimes you can't see that they have a dog, and as we're getting closer, we see this huge dog, and we're like, whoa, I mean, he could have been a service dog. We have no idea, and we didn't want to get the gentleman upset, but that's one of the situations. It's not super scary, but that's one of the things, because I'm afraid of dogs, that.
But you could call members of the police department.
Yes,
if you were
we
ever
definitely
in a situation.
can call if we felt like the dog was gonna attack someone, which he wasn't. He was just sitting there. But that's the type of scary situations that I have come in contact with. There hasn't been anything else where I felt like I even needed to remove myself from a train or a platform. I haven't experienced that at this time.
But you have a radio and you have a
I definitely
lifeline
have a
of folks you could
radio.
support.
Yes, ma'am. I have a radio if I need to contact them. And there's also officers on our same beat. When we're patrolling, we run into officers, sworn officers. We ran into them several times last night as we're patrolling, because they're patrolling as well.
Thank you so much. Director Lee, Director Foley. I'm going to slowly go. Okay, Director Lee and Director Foley, thank you for your answer. Director.
I'm so excited to see you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions. I apologize I was not able to attend on Monday, but I'm so excited that the Ambassador Program has begun and that we were, really thoughtful in setting this up. Honestly, I had the same exact question as President Simon about how the board can support you and support the Ambassador Program. So, you've already answered it, but, as this program is developing, Chief, please report back to us about what we can do, how we can keep working with our local jurisdictions or whatever to make sure that y'all are well-resourced. So thank you.
Director Foley.
I wanted to say, first off, thank you for being an ambassador for BART. It's an important role for our riders to know that you're there to help keep them safe. And in fact, I had the pleasure of running into a team, I believe it was Monday, on my way home. So it was kind of nice to see folks out and about. I have a question for you, though. You probably, I don't know if you've really run into this yet, but for referrals to like the core team and the hot team, do you have a direct line so that you can connect someone who is in need with someone from the program? Does that have to go through dispatch? How does that work from a procedural standpoint?
No, we don't have to contact dispatch. We have direct phone numbers that we can give them and they can call. And also we can contact Armando, and he's one of the go-to people that we have here, and he can further assist them.
Okay. So are you able to reach out to CORE and say, I have someone in need? Can you come to a particular station or train to handle a crisis?
Yes, we're able to do that. Most of the time, if we need help, because this is still kind of new, we still would contact Armando just to make sure we're taking the right steps.
Okay, fair enough. And just going forward, as you've heard from the other directors as well, I think it's important for us to hear from you about the tools that you need that we can help supply you with. So as you kind of grow into this role and understand really what your day-to-day challenges are, it would be great if you can kind of keep a list and let us know, because we want to support your success. So we need to hear from you. How can we do that? So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I think that's a good idea. Maybe if we can have this conversation a month from now, that'd be a good thing. We'll be able to give you more information about what we need.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
So the Latifahs are setting the agenda for the next two board meetings. We look forward to seeing you back